Good morning, everyone. It's hard to be the first one, second day, and to be here, but nice to have you. So I'm going to talk a little bit on different things. You have been, I think I need to move back here. You have been seeing great presentation yesterday, fantastic pictures, a lot of dreaming things. And I'm going in a completely different subject. Last year I was talking about social media and marketing, and this is basically a little bit a mix today where I'm going. So I will be talking about the transformation of the diving industry, the way I see it, but also the way I get this as a perception when I travel the world. I'm mostly on the Asian part for my work, I would say. Yes, the sustainable part is definitely something that I would say when I compare to Europe, the US, and the Asian continent, we see a lot of talks in Europe, I would say, a lot of movements. The politicians are making a lot of noise, but the reality is that in Asia, they take action. That's what I see. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about China. I have been there lately. But this is definitely something that has to be taken very seriously. So I will tell you where I am. By the way, I had another presentation with more fancy slides, but I had to go back to a PowerPoint. Thank you, Arlindo. I will tell you who am I, and 20 weeks and 37 years. What does this mean? So basically, my name is Jean-Claude Monachon. I'm Swiss. I live in Cyprus. I've been in this diving industry since 37 years, and I started actually to do my first dive in the age of 14 in a Swiss lake, very dark, with someone that was absolutely not trained, but I survived and I'm still here, and I continued my passion. I said I'm a lot in Asia, and why the 20 weeks? The 20 weeks, very simple. This year, with all the changes, with artificial intelligence and so on, and as you could see before, I'm a little bit in marketing, so I decided to invest quite a long time in a coach, and I work with a coach named Billie Jean, who is actually the coach of Tony Robbins and so on for the marketing part. So I was certified as a chief executive human. So completely different. You never heard that, but this has all to do with marketing and artificial intelligence, which is definitely the way we can go today. Now, we are in a fast-changing world, and you need to adapt. I see the audience here, and the question is really, is the industry ready for it? When I go to Asia and I do presentations at ADEX or in different shows in China, for example, I have a completely different audience. I would say 70% women, and the average age 30. And now I look here in the room, and we all look very young. We are very fresh, especially this morning. But the question is, when you started to dive, when was that? How many years ago? 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago? Who is with 40 years ago? Well, a few. 30? Yeah, good, huh? 20 years? All right, the question is, why did you start to dive? Was it about the standards, the technique, and everything, or was it for something different? If it's for me, when I started to dive, was really a change in my life. I was an accountant in a municipality in Switzerland, very boring job, and I went to the Maldives and I started my career. And actually, then I ended by being 20 years with Paddy Europe, and now with SSI, so that's not a secret. But actually, the main part was one slogan that we created at that time was diving is fun. And we didn't really care about the standards. We had them, of course. We didn't care about the training because we knew it was safe. But we wanted to have this social aspect, this social element, this exchange. The dive is, let's say, 1 hour, and the things around the dive is about 2 to 3 hours. So that was the main element. And sometimes I have the feeling that the industry is not especially ready for this change because I miss a little bit this fun. But when I go to Asia, I see this part. Even though we all have fun here, we have a great community, but I'm just asking, where are the young people? And there are a few, of course. Sorry, I see a few faces here. Don't want to make everything bad. So there are aging trends in Europe and Americas, and obviously a difference in Asia. Now, I could have done two different presentations, one for the end consumer and one for the professionals. All is somewhere interrelated, because after COVID, we all suffer in our industry to have new professionals. Many people went back to, let's say, their previous job, previous boring life as well, and they are not ready to go back to the diving industry. And to get new generations into the diving industry, especially, I would say, Europe and America, very hard. We have an aging market in the diving centers. Actually, I think it was about 10, 12 years ago at the boat show in Düsseldorf, there was a big seminar where the prediction was the end of the diving industry, because they said, we are aging, there is no succession, there is no solution, by the way, at that time. And everybody was saying, the diving industry will collapse. Well, we are still here, the figures are still good, and people are still diving, because we are not a trendy sport, I would say, but we are something that have many facets that we can propose. But they did not bring any solutions. And it was in Germany, led by Germans, and sorry if there are some Germans here, but they were very negative on that. And we can change something. So in Asia, I said I'm a lot in Asia, and I see a completely different picture. Before COVID, obviously, I saw that already, but now after COVID even more. And during the COVID phase, I would say one of the leading magazines, led by the ADEX show, was putting a lot of efforts in promoting sustainability, the blue economy, and actually all what is related to the environment. They kept the people alive, they kept the people active, and they were really shut down completely. And I compare to, let's say, Europe and America, we tend to do the same things over and over again, which is not really appealing to the young generation. So, but the young generations are somewhere. What did change also is that many young people from the Asian countries started to dive during COVID, or just after. So it's a big shift in the market. You take Indonesia, take Thailand, you have a huge now local market, which was not there before, it was more touristic. So this has been a big shift. And why that shift is really related to the environment again. So the Asian model for me is where the industry has to go, because we have an opportunity. And even if we look at the young people in the world, if they don't start diving in Europe or in the US, where are they? They are in Asia. And there is a reason for that. Because they have a different approach, they have a different message, and maybe not only because of the nice weather and maybe better prices and so on. No, they spend much more money as we think, actually. But take other industry. Take the cycling, kiteboarding industry. Do you see a lot of instructors that are over 50? Not really. So why is that? Maybe because our dive center owners did not take the opportunity to engage more young people and maybe change the model on how they can be retributed. That's another discussion, another story, but you have to think about that, because this is again different in Asia. So actually the appeal is definitely on the sustainability, and there are a lot of surveys going into this direction. Now in Europe, in Germany, Switzerland, the young people, they prefer to glue their hands on the street, but they act as a community as well. And we have something to propose to them. They care for the environment, but we have to go into this direction with bringing this message. So they seek experiences that align with their values. The point is always, do we convey this message to this younger generation in Europe or in the US, where the market is aging? So we have to think about that, and they can make a very positive impact. As I said before, the gender, quite different. In Asia, 70% close to 70% are women. And they take leading roles. They really do something different. They are instructors, dive center managers. But I would not discount two other categories, free diving and mermaiding. I think it's 6 years back, I was in China, and I called my colleague in Germany, and I say, I have an idea. And he say, all right, tell me about it. I say, we should launch a mermaiding course. And he said, now you're completely crazy. It will never work, right? You lost it completely. I gave a few numbers, and I said, why mermaid? And why it can be having a positive impact on the rest of the industry. Obviously, a diving instructor takes a direction, and he does not want to be a free diving or a mermaid instructor. There are a few exceptions, of course, but in general, you choose a line and you go for this line. Same goes for mermaiding or free diving, although the two are more closer together. But there is a company that was born in China in March 20 during COVID, and they applied this idea of mermaid, and they created, there are 4 people in that, they created something like 10,000 certification a month just on mermaiding. Now imagine how many people are then going into free diving and maybe ultimately also on scuba diving. It worked. They created professionals, they created people there. Now, the message was not about the nice picture and the modeling. The message is the ambassador of the sea. That's all where it started, to have this message that would be conveyed about that. In some countries, it will not work, even though I have very good examples where you have maybe one mermaid instructor doing a course in Poland, and this year only she did over 140 certifications in the first 9 months. In Milano, one girl makes more turnover with mermaiding than the dive center alone, and then created a shift in the public in this dive center. So you have to think out of the box. That's what I say all the time. You have always to search for new opportunities. The Thai Tourism Board was at an event at the World Ocean Day in China in June, and they invited 120 mermaids free of charge to fly to Krabi and represent and bring something new to the community, bring new jobs and so on. So you have not to discount that, but you have to see it as a separate segment. So we are in the scuba diving, but we are in the water. And if they are fitly trained, I would say, they can enter that. So it's quite important to realize that. I know many of you, and I've seen many of you also at DIMA. Who has been to ADEX in Singapore? All right, what was the difference? A lot of young people, right? Lots of sales. Different, right? What was? Sorry? Manta ray photos everywhere. All right, okay. And if you were there this year, you have seen probably a lot of panels about sustainability, blue economy, and so on, right? And I think this is one of the big differences. DIMA, nothing against DIMA, but it has been the same model for years and years. And you see probably more people with the rollator than young people. Sorry about that, but that's the reality. And this is not engaging for young people to go to DIMA. They may say, well, why should I go to DIMA, right? So we have to take this into consideration, and we could expand in a huge discussion on that. So there is a lot of people that are interested, and again, the young people, they are maybe going to Asia because they find young people to train them. And this is something that is very important to notice. The blue economy, we talk a lot about the blue economy everywhere, but again, in Asia, that's the main theme. ADEX and the magazine, they really constantly talk about the blue economy. They do panels, they do webinars, and they really are bringing that. And 6 weeks ago, I was in Sabah, in Malaysia, and there was the first ADEX Malaysia, and it was the first one, so it was more B2B at the beginning, and then the reality was that all the University of Kota Kinabalu were invited to come, and they were introduced to the diving industry, also free diving and mermaiding, of course, but they were there to learn that there is a job opportunity in the world if they enter the water. And that was the message. So the show was really full with young people. And then the ministry came, the mayor came, and they said, thank you very much for bringing this opportunity to our young people. You don't see that in Europe. This is not the same engagement. And I think this is really something that we have to realize. So diving is it's not just a sport, it's really a way to connect people. We know that, and we have done a lot for that in the past. And we have maybe to think out of the box as well. Now, you may say, all over these years, the organizations, everyone in this room and elsewhere have done a lot of efforts of cleaning, beach cleanups and so on. Mark will be talking about Project Aware. We have the blue ocean and so on. And we always talk about that. We have that in our materials. The reality is that we talk a lot, but the young people are not really getting this message. So we have to change something, and we have to rethink the marketing strategies. That's where it all starts. So we have to change the way we approach these people. So, you know, I have this, which is the ing. In marketing, when I talked about the course I went and so on, people say you are in a fantastic niche. We wish we had the same niche of people that you have the addresses, you have their birthday, you know their interest, they have several interests, you have their age, you have everything you need to have to do a great marketing. People pay a lot of money in different other business or industries to get this type of information. The point is that our centers, let's say, do not use possibility. So the ing, everything which ends with ing actually in marketing is something very difficult. You know, people do not like calling, prospecting, getting leads, some marketing. That's the thing they don't like. We have diving, which is something we like. So I always try to do the parallel. We can do the marketing for you, and we have to do that. That's our role, I would say. But then we have also to understand the audience and see how we can do. So the traditional marketing avenues are completely gone. And what happened? I interviewed really a lot of dive centers, especially in the last 2 years. Asked them, what do you do in marketing? Oh, I have a social media. I have Facebook, Instagram. I have my website. And then you check and you see this is dead. Actually, don't spend money in marketing anymore because they think customers will come in. This is, again, a little bit different in Asia, especially in China. It's, again, another way. So the young people are on all these channels, and I'm sure you are on these channels too. And some people, I like this image here because some people will say, this is the perfect audience for Facebook, right? You probably are on Instagram or even something else, right? Well, look, Facebook is close to 3 billion people. And you will say, well, but our audience, if we want to target young people, we need to go TikTok, Instagram. Not wrong. But this is the reality. This is the best monetizable place. And if you see here, the age, the higher column, it's not the 40 or 50 plus. So why is Facebook so successful with the younger generation, even though nobody will admit? It's simply because they have communities. So the Facebook groups is one of the strongest community. And I give you a hint. Go into Facebook and search for shark lovers, turtle lovers, manta lovers, and so on. And you will see there are hundreds of thousands of people in these groups interested in that. And then you check how many dive centers or dive professionals are actually positioning themselves there. Less than a 2-digit, right? Then marine ecology courses. I'm really a fan of that. And everybody says we need a manta course, we need a shark course, we need all of these courses. And actually, Ocean Reef group, the Greenfins group, they say 83% of the people are willing to invest in sustainable education, courses like that. And 76% of the pros, they say it's true. Reality is when you ask, let's say the public, I was in Paris at the dive show and I asked everybody, what do you think, how many marine ecology courses, no matter which organizations, are taught in the world on a yearly basis? 200,000-300,000 per year. The reality is we are far from 5 digits, actually. And I know some figures from others too, so this is the reality. So what's the barrier? You ask a professional, he will say, yes, I have this specialty, but I'm not teaching it. And the point is, they are not teaching it because they are not comfortable to teach it. It's as simple as that. They always want to be doing something more special. So it's a missed opportunity. We could talk about the prices of the course. When I was teaching in Geneva in 1991, open water course was costing 1,000 euro. Today is less than 650. And we had this discussion with some of you yesterday. So actually, the point is not that the people do not want to spend that money. The point is that we miss the added value. And this is something that is missing too. So the data that I said before, you can check that on the Reef World Foundation. They have excellent data. I really encourage you to check that. You will see a lot of good feedback why we should go into the sustainability and why young people are actually searching for that. So the figures that I mentioned are really coming also from there and documented there. I was the 9th of June in diving in Sanya. It's Hainan Island. It's the subtropical island in China where you have the majority of divers going. And this is just, I had the video, so obviously we do not play that, but just to give you an idea how things are done. We talk about coral planting and so on. I have seen fields of corals planted. Every day they have people planting corals, growing corals. I have never seen that before in my life. Then for the World Ocean Day, the Hotel Atlantis supported the event. The politicians were there. It was live broadcasted. Then we had 3 islands. And on these 3 islands, people were, you have this type of 2 moderators, and then people in the water. We used some ocean reef material with communication and so on. And that was after 1 hour. We had 2 million people watching live what was happening underwater and with coral planting. And this has gone on for 3 hours live on different channels. Quite amazing. And when you see that, you think, why don't we do something like that elsewhere? China is China. We can take what we want out of it, but when it comes to taking action, they really do it. And they were all young people, so really a brilliant thing. 2 weeks ago, I was in Italy, Noli. It's a Ligurian coast, and I was diving. I don't know if you have heard about Nemo's Garden. Nemo's Garden is not really what you do with the underwater habitat, but they grow basil, lemongrass, and other things like that. And actually, you have 9 of these aquaspheres, I would say, and then you could see the number of divers around it. And then the life around it, it was really mind-blowing. And we did, a month before, a Zoom live from underwater, because they have Wi-Fi at 10 meters of depth, and we were doing this presentation around the world. So you have people taking action. And this is, again, also something that is futuristic. And you can see that in the States. There is a lake where they do that. And you have probably heard about this new city in Saudi Arabia that they are building. The first project that will be ready in December will be something like that. So there is an investment in the vision of growing things underwater and bringing new people underwater. So a cool thing. I think my time is almost over. Swiss example. People say, well, I cannot teach shark courses because people are not interested. I researched that as well, and there's a guy in Geneva. He does more courses than Australia on shark courses alone, more specialties. You will say, Geneva, no sharks, right? He does fish identification, manta rays, and so on. So he created some submersible panels. He goes at 6-meter depths, and he has a parkour, and people do snorkel or dive and learn. Brilliant. The second one is in Thun. It's a central part of Switzerland. They do hundreds of certifications every year, also on a different way. They really bring that passion to the people. And all the customers, I would say, are young. Here as well, he's less than 30 years old, and he has a lot of young people. So if someone says, I cannot do a course like that in the Maldives, or in Australia, or Florida, then I would say, just think out of the box, right? So this is how we can do that. But unfortunately, there are not enough people like that. So our role is really to convey this message and continue to that. I know my time is over, so I would say, Arlindo, I'm done. I have only 25 more slides. Thank you very much.